Hello everybody and welcome to chapter number 9, the monopoly, which is the next market structure we need to take a closer look at. In the previous chapter, we talked about perfect competition, and that was where we saw the most amount of competition. In this chapter, we just get to the opposite, where there's the least amount of competition. And we're going to follow a very similar process that we laid out in the last section with this chapter, where the first half is going to be sort of devoted towards the economic analysis, and then the second half is going to talk about a few of the idiosyncrasies of the market structure itself. So here we're going to start off in general just by taking a look at the monopoly, a few of the key features and characteristics. We're going to see exactly how the monopoly is going to derive its market power using these obstacles or these barriers to entry. And then, as before, we are interested in seeing the profit maximizing condition of this market structure. Every single market structure that we take a look at has its own unique profit maximizing condition. So what exactly is that going to be under the monopoly itself? Then we take a look at the welfare and efficiency aspects of this market structure compared to all the other market structures. And as you've sort of already guessed, the monopoly is probably the most inefficient market structure that we take a look at within this semester. Then we're going to go ahead and turn our attention to a few of the things that we're only going to see on the monopoly side. So we know that the monopoly has a lot of market power, so they're going to use this power to practice price discrimination, charging people different prices for the same exact good. And if they're able to use this price discrimination, they're going to see their own profits rising. Because monopolies also do have a lot of power, the governments do tend to step in, and that's where they try to regulate or propose some type of antitrust legislation to keep monopolies from popping up. And then we want to see exactly how the governments measure market power, and that's where we take a look at the concentration and the Herfindahl-Hirschman index to give us a better idea of whether or not an industry is more concentrated or less concentrated. So just as a review, remember that the key features of a monopoly are going to include all of the things that you see right here. It's only going to include one firm. There's only one firm in the entire industry that we take a look at, and they basically control everything. Remember, in application, there can be more than one firm in terms of a monopoly, but it's just going to be one big player that basically controls everything. There are no close substitutes for the product, meaning that we have to go to the monopoly firm in order to get the good or service. There's no other firm that is going to be providing this good or service. There are significant barriers to entry or obstacles, so it's very, very difficult for any one firm to actually break into the industry and sell the good or service. It's going to require a huge amount of money or a huge amount of capital to do so, and even if they have that type of money, there's no guarantee that they will be earning profits. There is substantial market power and control over the price, so monopolists are known as price makers, meaning that they set the price. Compare this to what we saw under perfect competition, where firms under the perfectly competitive market structure were seen as price takers. They had to take the prices as given on the marketplace. Here, we just have the exact opposite case. And then finally here, we see that there is potential for long-run economic profit. So as we transition from the short run over to the long run, we notice that, hey, monopolies, because they have market power, because they have the ability to set prices, we see the potential for long-run economic profit. And compare that once again to perfect competition, where every single firm had to be earning zero economic profit or normal profits in the long run. So if we had to define one key defining feature of the monopoly itself, it would of course have to be this market power. And market power, as we've described, is a firm's ability to set prices. So let's go ahead and start writing that down. So market power. Market power. And market power in general is just saying exactly how much power do you have to be a price maker. So a firm's ability to set prices in a market. To set prices in a market. So here, market power defines a firm's ability to set prices within a particular market. And under the monopoly case market structure, we notice that they have the most market power. They have the highest ability to set prices, while the previous chapter with perfect competition, they had no market power at all. Essentially, because they had to take prices as given, those firms were seen as price takers. The monopoly, remember, is seen as a price maker. So how exactly does a monopoly use its market power? Where does its market power sort of stem from? We'll put it in that way. We'll go ahead and take a closer look at the barriers to entry and the 3 specific barriers to entry that monopolies are going to exercise in order to increase their market power. And that's exactly what any firm wants to do. They want to become a monopoly. They want to exercise this market power because that's where they're going to see the highest amount of profits possible. So we'll take a closer look at these barriers to entry in the next section.